Mr. Chair, council members, Mayor Marchioni, elected officials, valued employees, and people of King County. Last week, many of you joined me for the biggest celebration our county has seen, at least since the Seahawks won the Super Bowl. It was the opening of University Link from downtown Seattle to Husky Stadium. And what has happened since then has been nothing short of stunning. Ridership numbers are through the roof. Trains are so full that this very morning, Sound Transit added a third car to many of them. And all of this happened while the University of Washington was on spring break, while Seattle Central was in finals, and while before Metro had even done its service changes to bring the buses to the train. But here's the real magic. Listen to what people are saying. Cut my commute in half. Freaking fast. I live in a real city now. Fast, reliable, on-time light rail transforms both communities and commutes. It changes people's lives. It's changing the city of Seattle. And as light rail expands, it will play a pivotal role in transforming a county that is already on the move. Even as I speak, the state of the county is in motion. 2 million people traveling between home and school, work and shopping, leisure, and back home again to their families. Our 20th century infrastructure is straining to keep up with our 21st century needs. So over the course of this speech, over just the next 25 minutes, I promise you, I-405 between Bellevue and Bothell will move about 4,500 vehicles. Or, depending on traffic, maybe half that, or maybe none. If you think traffic is bad now, think about this. Over the next 25 years, 1 million more people will join us in this region, and they will bring with them exciting new opportunities, but also challenges. Growth is not our problem. Failing to get out in front of that growth is. And that's why this speech is less about the state of the county at this moment and more about the transformation of King County into what we choose for it to become. See, politics is about choices. Last year, I chose to use this speech to make the case for best starts for kids. And thanks to the hard work of my colleagues on this council and a lot of the people in this room, this past November, King County voters generously approved the most comprehensive and transformative childhood development initiative in the nation. Now, I have already transmitted to the council a plan that will direct the first $19 million of Best Starts for Kids funding to preventing homelessness for children and youth. And our county's commitment to caring for children doesn't end with that. I'm just finishing up a tour of all 19 school districts in King County. Snoqualmie Valley is coming up soon, and that'll be the last. And I can personally testify to the pride and really the love that our teachers and principals and parents hold for their neighborhood schools. Just last month, voters throughout the county once again demonstrated our enduring support for public education, choosing to approve all 13 local school levies that were on the ballot, most of them by margins of 20% or more. But until the state legislature fulfills its paramount duty, the funding crisis in our local schools can never be fully resolved. Of course, county government faces a state-created funding crisis of its own. Chronic revenue deficit that is masked by the innovation and the hard work of our 13,000 county employees. I'm proud that King County is a union county. Some 85% of our employees are union members. Sure, we have different roles to play at the bargaining table, but we all share a single goal. Our award-winning employee wellness program, our application of lean management principles, our nationally recognized transit fare program, reduced fare program called Orca Lift, they all demonstrate a shared commitment to delivering best-run government, to serving the people. And not just the people. Of all the examples of best-run government, one that is really close to my heart is the transformation that has taken place at Regional Animal Services of King County. 6 years ago, amid poor conditions at our shelters and euthanasia rates as high as 40%, we were on the cusp of closing that agency. Instead, I chose to empower our employees to remake animal services into a model of best practices. Today, I am pleased to report that 9 of 10 cats and dogs that come into our care find a safe home. That is one of the highest save rates in the nation. So, Dr. Jean Mueller and Foster Care Coordinator Lori Mason, I want to thank you for your hard work and leadership. And by the way, that cat that you just saw is no longer Grumpy Cat, because after he was on the front page of the Times, some 49 people came in to try to adopt him. There are more where he came from. As the remarkable transformation at Animal Services demonstrates, running government better is not just about running government cheaper, although we've certainly made remarkable progress on that score as well. We have constrained the rate of growth in the cost of county government to just 3.3%, below even the 3.5% rate of inflation plus population growth. And that is what I pledged in my first State of the County address. And yet, due to the state's arbitrary 1% cap on our regular levy, our general fund tax revenues are growing at only 2.5%. And so again, even in the best of times, we're facing a $50 million deficit in our 2017-2018 budget, almost all of it due to that 1% cap. See, it is not just cats and dogs that we're having to rescue. In approving a series of dedicated levies, the voters have managed to rescue veterans aid, mental health, human services, and more. If not for the parks levy, our county parks would now be closed. But this rescue budgeting strategy can only take us so far. The bitter infighting in Olympia may garner headlines, but there is no rousing floor speech, no clever parliamentary maneuver that can drive a bus or house the homeless or heal the sick or educate a child. And so to those legislators standing in the way of responsible revenue reform, my message is simple. Do your job. Stop kicking the McCleary can further down the road. Suck it up and raise the revenue you know you need to raise. And start meeting your constitutional obligation to amply provide for the education of all children, regardless of race, regardless of income, regardless of zip code. And while you're doing your job, give us the tools we need to better do ours. Lift that arbitrary 1% cap that is eroding the ability of local governments across this state to meet the needs of the people. Now, Councilmember Lambert mentioned transportation, and I want to talk about that this morning, or this afternoon. See, one of the most serious challenges facing us is the transportation crisis that accompanies our enviable economic growth. As jobs and job seekers flock to our region, our daily commute grows longer and more frustrating with every passing day. Now, to be clear, if you have to have a problem, this is the best kind of problem to have. Better to suffer through growing pains than to suffer through the ailments of economic decline. Better the challenges we face today than those of the Boeing bust. But the best thing about this problem is that we know exactly how to solve it. We need more transit. Now, I know there are a lot of people who can't quite picture making their daily commute by bus or by train. And for many of us, the car will remain the best or even only option we have. And as our Roads and Bridges Task Force and the Regional Transportation Futures Task Force just concluded, we must secure the authority to invest substantially more in maintaining and enhancing the local city and county roads we have. But the blunt truth is this: the age of freeway building is over. Look, I remember growing up in America where your 16th birthday was the most magical day of your young life. That's the day you got your driver's license, the day you were finally free. Does anybody feel free driving on I-5 these days? Even if we had the money, we don't have the physical space to build enough lanes to build our way out of this crisis. And even if we could build more freeway lanes, the arterials and side streets could never handle the additional traffic that those lanes would deliver. The case for light rail is simple. At peak capacity, a light rail line can carry 16,000 people per hour in each direction, absolutely reliably, always an 8-minute ride from Westlake Station to Husky Stadium, regardless of traffic or weather or time of day. That is the equivalent of adding 14 new lanes to Interstate 5 through the heart of downtown Seattle. 14 lanes. Try getting that permitted. Now, there is simply no other option that can add the kind of capacity that we need in our transportation system. None. And those numbers don't even start to tell the whole story. Light rail is transformative. It transforms an intersection into a place, a job site into a bustling economic center. It transforms the way people get to work, to school, or to Husky football games. And even if you never intend to set foot on light rail, it is still in your interest, because every person who chooses to ride the train is one less person snarling up traffic for you. No, with 1 million more people coming to this region, light rail will not solve all of our traffic problems. But if we, our children, want the choice to get out of gridlock, we have a once-in-a-generation opportunity to get this right. This November, we must pass Sound Transit 3. Well, Sound Transit is an agency on the move. In January, I brought on board our new CEO, Peter Rogoff. In February, President Obama proposed $1.2 billion in federal grants to extend light rail north to Linwood. In March, we opened University Link, which I never tire of reminding folks came in ahead of schedule and under budget. And just last week, the Sound Transit Board released our ST3 draft plan. This is an ambitious plan, befitting an ambitious region. And it is one that is absolutely necessary if we are going to continue to prosper from this growth. So this is where we started. This is Transit's version of the Space Needle drawn on a cocktail napkin. And like the Space Needle, what started as just an idea is now built and operating and used by thousands of people every day. Since opening in 2009, light rail's ridership has grown. It's grown by double-digit percentages every year. It's changing the way people choose to live their lives. Last week I was at King TV's new studios across from Safeco Field for an interview. And I had the chance to talk to one of the producers there. His name's Joseph Suttner. And he told me that he and his boyfriend were able to move now to Capitol Hill, where they had wanted to live, because instead of having to drive a car from where they were living to Dexter Avenue, he can now take the train from Capitol Hill Station to Stadium Station in 13 minutes and be on time to work every single day. And they were able to sell one of their cars, saving themselves thousands of dollars a year. U-Link has already transformed the way people are getting around Seattle. And in September, we will extend the line farther south, beyond SeaTac Airport. The new Angle Lake Station will be another game changer, relieving growing pressure at Tukwila Station by adding a critical park and ride south of the airport. And by the way, it too is coming in under budget. My little daughter is already almost 2 years old. And by the time she's in first grade, which those of you who are parents know will be but a moment from now, we will be opening 3 new light rail stations to the University District, to Roosevelt, and to Northgate. And from that day forward, people living in places like Shoreline and Lake Forest Park, once they get to Northgate, they can relax and enjoy their 14-minute train ride into downtown Seattle. Just 2 years later, then, the whole landscape changes when light rail opens to Shoreline, Mount Lake Terrace, Linwood, to Bellevue, Overlake, Mercer Island, to Highline College, where Kent meets Des Moines. 25 miles of light rail added in 1 year. So that is Sound Move and ST2. Voter approved, already funded, and thanks in large measure to the leadership of our outgoing CEO, Joni Earl. All of it is on track to be delivered on time and on budget. Yes, even the tunnels. So I am grateful to Joni. I am so grateful for her building one of the best run transit agencies in this country. You know, our vision of an interconnected region really starts to come into focus, though, when we look ahead to Sound Transit 3. We're going to knit together this region, and we've talked about this, from north to south, from east to west. From Linwood, we're going to go north to Everett, connecting workers in King County to jobs at Boeing and all the growing population centers in between. The I-5 corridor between Everett and Seattle is such a mess that the average commuter, now I want you to listen to this, the average commuter spends about 4 extra hours a week stuck in traffic at an estimated annual cost of $3,400 in lost time and wasted fuel. And Everett's population is going to grow by another 75% by 2040. Now here in Redmond, Mr. Mayor, you have done more to welcome light rail than just about any city in the region. And I am not just saying that to flatter you, though that would be worthy as well. You made light rail a permitted use. You are saving us months, perhaps even years of bureaucratic process. You designed the town center around that station. You zoned appropriately. And when rail arrives here in Redmond, the people of Redmond will be ready to instantly take advantage of their new connection to the region. Thank you, Mayor Marchione and the council. Other cities are following your lead. ST3 builds capacity for a prosperous future. And we also need relief now. So ST3 gets more buses moving more quickly even before we finish Sound Transit 2. The I-405 corridor is one of the most congested, most miserable stretches of roadway in our region. Bus rapid transit will provide desperately needed relief by putting buses on the road now while we build the inline stations and dedicated ramps that will give the most people the quickest ride to the places they need to go. I-405 BRT just makes sense. And for all the cities along the route, Linwood and Bothell, Kirkland, Bellevue, Newcastle, Renton, Tukwila, SeaTac, and on into Burien, relief is on the way. And we need more high-capacity transit on State Route 522 as well. And this proposal makes immediate investments in BRT while beginning the planning for future light rail from Lake City to Lake Forest Park, Kenmore, and Bothell. And in addition to high-capacity bus rapid transit with a new station serving Kirkland, the east side will also get a new rail line. Issaquah, our newest designated urban center, will be connected to Eastgate and Bellevue by light rail. And Federal Way is home to one of the busiest transit centers in the region. They have standing room only buses every morning, and only light rail will bring the capacity that growing city needs. Like Everett to the north, Tacoma is expecting explosive population growth, some 60% by 2040. Now, as a multimodal hub, Tacoma Dome Station is rivaled only by King Street Station. They both have Amtrak, Sounder commuter rail, express buses, and local buses. But what Tacoma does not yet have is that light rail connection to the airport and to the region. As my colleague Pat McCarthy would remind me, connectivity is critical to the economic development and the vitality of Pierce County. And so that is the north-south spine and the east side connections. But that's not all the mobility that ST3 will bring to our region. See, a truly regional system must knit together housing and job centers throughout the three-county region. And so we will build light rail to the junction in West Seattle, to Market Street in Ballard. We'll add a station at Graham Street in the Rainier Valley and at the Boeing Access Road. We will expand streetcars in Tacoma and extend Sounder service south all the way to DuPont. And finally, we will continue to integrate Sound Transit and Metro service. See, as new Sound Transit service comes online, Metro buses will be redeployed, providing more and better service to and from these stations and throughout King County. Light rail to Northgate and in Redmond and in Federal Way means better Metro bus service everywhere. Everybody benefits. Our vision for ST3 is a complete regional system with major transit projects delivered every few years, laying down track, opening new stations, adding new buses. Year by year, city by city, over the next 2 decades, Sound Transit will transform not just our commutes, but our communities. A generation ago, during the Boeing bust, voters rejected the rapid transit portion of Forward Thrust. We've been paying the price for that ever since. But today, the state of the county is strong. Strong enough to give our children the choice to get out of their cars and get onto a transportation system that serves the needs of the next century. ST3 It represents an ambitious vision. This is one of the most important decisions our generation will be asked to make. And obviously, it will not come free. $50 billion over 25 years. $27 billion in new taxes. That's $17 per month for the typical adult. And for that, a 108-mile system of rail comparable to Washington, D.C., or San Francisco, or Chicago. Every detail of this plan is based on need. The need to connect people with their jobs. The need to connect businesses with their customers. The need to connect our growing cities with each other. And above all, the need to connect our present with our future. Last week, with the opening of ULink, I caught a glimpse of that future taking shape. And what I saw was more than just a vision of gleaming stations and speeding trains. I saw a region choosing to free itself from the terrible economic and environmental and social costs of gridlock. I saw a region of many centers choosing to be one, a single, vibrant, prosperous community with opportunity for all. I saw a region in the face of great challenges and profound change, choosing to shape its own better future. Join me in making that vision a reality. Thank you very much.
Good speech, good speech.
Thank you, sir.